Hello, challenge tubers, and welcome back to another Let's Play with me, Blue Ankylo. So, if you've been watching the channel for the last, I don't know, couple of weeks, you may have noticed that I've been all over this Final Fantasy 1 stuff again. It's gotten into my blood or something. So, today what we're going to do is start a series of challenge runs through the Final Fantasy 1 remake, specifically the Game Boy Advance version, the Dawn of Souls, although I believe it's fundamentally very similar to the PlayStation 1 remake. I just tend to work with the Game Boy Advance one. That's the one I played when I had an old Game Boy Advanced. Now, we're going to go through solo challenges. We're going to start with the fighter, because he's, well, I actually don't know. He's possibly the easiest. And we're also going to be playing it on pretty high speeds, just to save some time, because no one's got time for dialogue, and we're not really here to showcase the story or anything. We're here to showcase the challenging aspects of a solo run. Now, if you're new to the channel, or just finding me randomly, I've already covered each of the main 6 characters on the NES, the Nintendo version of Final Fantasy 1. Those are the solo challenges I'm actually far more familiar with. I've done those all, each of them, quite a few times on my own, and recorded them once for you on the YouTube. I've not really ever considered the remakes version of the solo challenges, and there's quite a few differences. In general, Final Fantasy 1 Dawn of Souls is probably easier by a fair stretch if you're playing with a normal party, although it has challenge dungeons, which are far more difficult than the original game. The base mechanics are kind of easier, I would say. But for a solo run, there's quite a few new variables. Some of the game is balanced better, access to some weapons is different, although the XP and leveling curve is pretty crazy. You're not... Instead of having a level cap of 50, it's 90, so an extra level up doesn't necessarily mean as much, and vice versa. Anyway, we'll talk about it as we go. Let's get started here. So, of course, we're playing Final Fantasy 1. And we're going to make a new game. Just to show off, I know it's possible, because I have done fighters solo. I have not tried anyone else, but I had to at least give it one test run before I started the Let's Play, because I didn't want to find out that there was some sort of weird bottleneck I didn't know about that would stop me. So I've done it with a single fighter once, and I have done 4 fighters and cleared the bonus dungeons, although I'm not sure if it's possible solo. There's some bonus challenge bosses that I'm not convinced a solo character will really have any chance at, but maybe we'll talk about that later. But I know that 4 fighters can do pretty much everything, and 1 fighter can do the main game, so that's what we're going to show off today anyway, or at least that's what we're going to start. So, we're going to make ourselves a fighter, and honestly, one of the cool things is you can sort of let them name randomly. Sure, we'll go with Baron. That's a nod to Final Fantasy 4. And the rest of them, it doesn't really matter, because we're just going to let them die. I wish you could just hit randomize, but let's bring, you know what, just because it reminds me so much of the solo runs, we're going to bring 3 thieves, because they're the worst, and we're just going to let them all die. Although in the remake, the thieves are considerably better, but we'll talk about that if we try a thief solo run later. For now, we're going to focus on the fighter. And we're going to skip that kind of stuff. Alright, so let's get to it. We're already, you know, 3 minutes in, we got enemies to kill. So first things first, we need to make sure all the thieves die, so they're up front. And that means, for the thieves, just in case you're... I'm just going to go through a lot of this stuff kind of quick. There's a lot of changes to this game from the original NES version. It kind of brings it in line with the Super Nintendo Final Fantasies. Oh yeah, there's dash as well. Let me get the config set up here. Auto dash, we'll turn the message speeds up. We'll see if that's too fast for combat. That's probably about right. And, let's just go extra blue, because we're Blue Ankylo here. So, it's not randomized or anything, so we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. It's significantly easier to know what to do when it's not randomized. So, the fighter always wants the rapier to buff his attack up significantly, and the chainmail to give him a big jump in absorb or defense. And then the rest of the junk we can just sell. Doesn't really matter. Alright. Now, before we leave, we might as well buy some potions. It's the only way to heal. Yeah, let's just buy 10 potions. You may notice a lot of things are quality of life improvements. I would say, actually, if you've, for instance, if you know someone who's never played a Final Fantasy game, this is my recommendation for starter games of it. Like, specifically, this version of Final Fantasy 1 is probably, in my opinion, the easiest to get into, as long as you're okay with kind of 16-bit sprites. You know, assuming you're okay with that. This is probably the best game for just getting into the series, in my opinion, anyway. I really quite enjoy this one. One big difference is we're going to have to be doing manual saves, unlike the NES version where you just use a tent or go to the inn. It's not quite so easy. So, what the plan here is to get the imps the thieves killed before they get any experience. Like, it doesn't really matter if they got to level 2 or something. But my personal rule for solo challenges is no experience on anyone except for the main character. So the thieves need to die, and that means if by some strange chance the 3 thieves were able to kill a group of goblins, we would actually run away, just so that they would not have any chance. But I mean, they're pretty bad with no weapons. We got a pretty good first group. 5 goblins, I think, is the largest group you can get here. So that'll dish out the most damage. And the reason, just in case you're really, really clueless, the reason I put them at the top of the party is enemies attack the people at the top the most. I don't know the formula for sure for the Dawn of Souls, or whatever this game's called. What am I playing? I don't know the formula for this version exactly. In the original, it was 50% to the top, 25% to the second, and then 12.5% to the bottom 2 characters. And then as they die, I have no idea. How the AI chooses its targets, I don't know. Anyway, we're almost done. The last thief will fall shortly. And I think, you know what, just to really legitimize this run, I will run anyway once he dies, and we will fight with a fresh fighter as if he did not have any assistance. He could kill the last 3 goblins, but let's make sure this is legit. And put him up at the front where he deserves to be. Save the game. And now the run really starts for real. Alright. It's a pretty good start. Oh, we got 3 goblins anyway. Well, whatever. It doesn't really matter. They can't really hurt him because he's got big armor on. And he kills them all in one shot. So, unlike starting with a black mage or something, or a white mage, the early game, not very difficult. One thing you might notice right off the bat, if you're mostly familiar with the NES version in comparison to the remake, is the XP growth and level ups come way faster in this version. So not only are we going to get 4 times the normal experience, because we're not sharing the split XP stuff with 4 people, like, you know, our fighter, or warrior, sorry, Baron, gets all the experience right off the bat. And he needs less experience per level than the original Nintendo game. So, honestly, level 3 is probably more than enough. Also, I'm only got 11 HP. We should probably go kill Garland now. The early game will zip by pretty darn quick. I don't really need to buy tents like you used to have to in the original, because you can save anytime you want. And, to be honest, because you can save anywhere, it kind of diminishes some of the main challenges of a solo run. I can just do this in the middle of a dungeon, but I will sort of Scout's agreement with you guys, not spam it very often. Like, my goal will be to only use it, like, maybe before bosses or on a new floor, or if we end up in a particularly tricky situation where we're dying a lot and resetting the game over and over and over again. And in that case, I'll bend the rules, but I'll try not to just, you know, every battle that's dangerous, you know, going through the ice cave, we'll just save after every fight. That seems a little bit, that's taking advantage of the system, in my opinion. Anyway, we're cutting our way through the goblins. At the bottom of the screen in the red letters, if you can see that, that's the frame rate we're running at. So we're running at higher speed than normal. I can technically go even faster if we need to, but, you know, you want to be able to see what's going on. So, I'll use one of our potions and save the game. Now, this is the first area with enemies that could theoretically kill us if they got really lucky. This is I can't remember if these guys can paralyze you. I think it's their upgraded brethren. Zombies are just going to be boring, nothing to worry about enemies. The fighters got pretty good physical defense, so most of this early game stuff is no big deal. Now, you could probably argue that 1 defense is worse than 1 evade. I've thought about that before. But we're not going to worry about that. Ah, good. Wolves. These are your traditional trolls that are fairly hard to run away from. You can also tell the fighter is doing 2 attacks per round already, which gives him a pretty significant damage upgrade. I'm not going to get into all the mechanics, because they're tweaked from the Nintendo one a little bit, and I've never really looked into the remake's background. But I expect as your accuracy, your ACC goes up, it follows basically the same pattern as the original game. Ooh, this is a pretty tough fight. I think we can win. We're going to try to take out the Werewolf first, who can probably do the most damage. Yeah, I'm actually quite glad we've got double attacks before we got this group, because if we weren't doing relatively high damage, I think the Werewolf will have like 70 or 80 HP. It would have taken a little while to knock him down normally. But as you can see, the fighters, chain armor, I guess they call it in this one. It's chain armor in the original too. If you have to forgive me if I call equipment and enemies by their original names. Obviously, this one has probably a more accurate translation, but I grew up with the original, so it's hard for me to shift to Newspeak, that is. Anyway, no big deal. We got another level up out of it. Lots of HP and stuff. I'm not going to really go over the stats, especially not on a warrior. Maybe on the thief run or something, we'll talk about the stats a bit more. But for now, I mean, the early game with a warrior is always the same. You know, you're really good at hitting things, and you hit them hard. And they try to hit you... Okay, here, Ghouls. So this is the first enemy with a status effect. Theoretically, he could stun lock us until we die, which is, you know, the course we're on right now. I mean, I'm hoping this doesn't actually kill me. I mean, this is great. That's pretty classic Final Fantasy for you there. All right, so yeah, there you go. That's what happens in a solo run. Stuff like that's gonna happen. So forget that. Let's just fight Garland. I just lost all my progress from this dungeon. I could have been saving it, I know, but I'm trying not to abuse that. So anyway, let's fight Garland. Let's put on the boss music for this specifically. Just hold on a second. It's very important I put the actual boss music on. I don't know if this is the right one or not, but good enough. All right, Garland, let's fight. Pretty sure we've got the advantage. Now, most of the bosses, or let's just say all of the bosses, they actually got a fairly big buff in the remake. So, although you get levels up a lot quicker, the bosses are actually tougher, which I think is fair. I think the original Garland had like 150, give or take, HP. He had at least double that in this. And if you're really lucky, he will drop some rare loot. That's one of the things the remake does that's new. It's added in quite a lot of random drops from enemies, just items and weapons and armor. And some of them are rather rare, so depending on your luck, you might end up having a much easier or harder time than I will, just from enemy drops. Alright, yada yada yada, here's a bridge, go save the world, you know the drill. Here's a loot. Don't forget the loot, it's kind of important. Alright, so just for interest's sake here, config, bestiary, Garland, there you go. So he's got, it says 212, maybe that's the same as always. But if he had dropped a longsword, we would have been very lucky, because that's a weapon you can normally not buy until the 4th town of Melmond, and it's better than anything you can buy without a drop for quite a while. Oh good, a drawbridge. And I do recommend playing along, or if you've never seen this game before, actually going through the story. It's nicely fleshed out a little bit more than the original. Just a little bit more dialogue and filling in stuff a bit. I really actually love, like, honestly, this is, I haven't mentioned it yet, but this is my favorite way to do a video game, a remake of a game. They stayed quite true to the original, but they fixed a bunch of the bugs and the glitches, and they added things that made logical sense. They got some challenge dungeons, new items and weapons and stuff that are totally optional, but, you know, pretty cool. I think this is, like, one of the best remakes of a Final Fantasy or any game that I've ever seen. Like, this is a a very high quality version to go off of. Just in case, I'm going to buy a couple antidotes here. Just back up in case we get poisoned. Poisoning is pretty brutal in this game. I think they've increased how much damage it does per turn. We'll probably never need Phoenix Downs, huh? And sleeping bags are kind of pointless. I think they heal a little bit more than a potion, but it's probably not worth my time. Alright, so we're ready for our next leg of our adventure. We successfully defeated Garland, saved the princess, built a bridge. Now we're going to go follow our hearts. Now, the one warrior of light carrying 3 thief corpses everywhere he goes. He props them up like marionettes to speak to the king when he goes to the king. Let's just speed right through this. And I have technically done a Let's Play of this game normally. So if you really want to see the story and a normal party that's not a challenge, I've got a series up on the channel. Alright, so Goblins we're just going to speed through now. I'll take the experience rather than running. But, and I need money anyway, actually. I need the gil. But, I'll only do fights at normal speed for kind of new enemies that have some sort of interesting effect. Like, these creeps, or Gigas worms, actually hit pretty hard. Although they give good experience for this game, oddly enough. Double time and an ambush, alright. Bet ya I wish I had that, cap now. The extra 1 absorb might have come in handy. Alright, we didn't die. That's the main thing. Hopefully I bought enough potions to get through the field here. We could have gone north to Matoya's cave, but it's probably only got, what, a potion and an antidote in it or something, and a tent? Something like that. We're not playing the randomizer, so there's no chance of Mazamune being up there. Alright, we're gonna speed through a lot of enemy attacks. As always with, you know, JRPGs, sometimes the turn-based combat does go a little bit slow when you've got one character and you don't have fancy area of effect spells like, oh, I don't know, nuke. I miss my nuke at level 1 black magic. Okay, lizards are pretty tough, actually. We'll see how we do here. I might need to heal up if I want to survive this or run away. No, double hit there was good. One more good double hit. Yeah, alright. Good fight, another level up. So like I said, the game's not easy. It's just easier, and there's very much less grinding required than the original. In the original, you almost always got stuck at every town, getting a few extra levels up, getting a bit more gold. The balance in this game is really far more in the don't worry about grinding. You'll probably be okay unless you run from everything, which is a little bit more like the modern RPGs rather than old school. All right, 520 gold. It's actually not enough, but I think it's okay. What I wanted to do was, before I fought the pirates, I wanted to buy the iron armor, because it's a pretty huge defense upgrade. I don't really have enough money for it. What I'll do instead is buy the leather shield, and I guess the leather gloves. I just want to make sure I've got enough absorb that they can't really hurt him. So that's another 1, and that's 2. That's not much. But, if I had the iron armor, if you had a little bit more money here, if you were a little bit more patient, grind, you know, a couple more random battles, maybe 1 ogre that would have dropped a lot of money, you can afford a better piece of armor for your fighter. And I think at that point the pirates won't even be able to damage you. But we'll see how we do with chain. I like the fact that the thieves still managed to walk into the bed somehow. It looks like they're laying on the face right now. But yeah, as a general rule, we should probably save before boss fights. Keel haul! Alright, now normally this is not a very difficult fight anyway. It looks like even a fighter with basic gear, they can only do 1 or 2 damage to anyway. So we're pretty much good, I think. Now, if they get a critical or something, they might do a little bit more. I don't know if criticals ignore your defense in this game like they did in the original, but that would add up, obviously. Hooray, a level up! HP, stamina. We got a free shield, great. Random drops, they're cool. Alright, Bicky, give me your ship. Thank you, buddy. Alright, so that's done. Next up, we gotta replace that rapier. That rapier's terrible. We need a better weapon. So we're gonna go to the weapon shop and buy ourselves You can actually see stats now before you buy stuff. So do I care about +1 attack? I don't know. Technically, there'll be breakpoints with your accuracy where plus 5% more accuracy will give you an extra attack per round. I'm not going to really mess around with that too much. I am going to just buy the broadsword for now, even though there's totally a way to min-max exactly when one is slightly better than the other. All I know is either are a big jump over the rapier, and that's good enough for me. The optimization route is not going to be necessary for the warrior, I do not think. So I haven't bought the upgraded armor yet. That's fine. As you can see, we have a ship. So we're gonna go pick up some free money, and then we'll be able to buy the armor. Wrong way. Oh good, Sahagins. So these guys, pretty weak. I guess their claim to fame is they're kind of evasive. So especially in the original game, if you're at a low level, which you'd normally be lower than level 9 in a group of 4, especially on the NES version, they're kind of difficult to hit, especially if you're only getting 1 hit per round. Although 6 is a little bit much. Let's just get out of there. Please. Please. Nope. One more try. I don't believe the fighters are particularly good at running, so let's just go in super speed and we'll win eventually. Alright, good enough, right? Alright, so we're heading up northwest from... Oh, preemptive strike. Sure, good enough. Actually, you can see if you're paying attention here, I am doing, like, a good chunk more damage than we used to by upgrading from the rapier to the short sword, or whatever that was called. Whatever it's called in this version. So it's nice to know, and we also got a level up there. You could barely even see it. We're so fast. We're going on super, super duper speed here. Hey, ogres! I finally found the enemies I was looking for. These guys are your money bags early on, usually. And they're not even that tough. I mean, you can see they're actually hitting the fighter for some real damage. But 390 gold is pretty solid. And I'm going to need to buy some potions soon, I guess. But no, we're doing just fine. So yeah, we come to the Dwarf Cave, or whatever we call it, specifically to get an extra 1,000 gold. And those of you that have never played this game or seen this game are thinking, Blue, you should be saving your money. You need 4,000 gold to get the best weapon. Well, I have a surprise for you. For one, all of the weapons in the game are cheaper than the NES version. And the second secret will surprise you. Ogres, I believe, have exactly 100 HP, as they've always had. I think most enemy monster stats are about the same. It's more just, perhaps the boss has got a bit of a buff. Hey, Buccaneers, or Pirates. Your other big money bags, although they run away pretty early on once you get a few level ups, but these guys give pretty amazing amounts of gold. There was always a little trick in the original where you could reset your game at the inn, leave Corneria and get into a battle and immediately fight a group of pirates or not pirates, what were they called? Kaizoku, sorry. You know, Japanese for pirate, crazy. But yeah, you could get a guaranteed fight of them every time you wanted, basically, and they 120 gold per pirate is pretty solid. But look at this, we're just leveling up like crazy, like mad. Alright, unfortunately, there is no silver sword. So, I think it sort of confirms that the fact that Elfland sold the silver sword in the NES version was kind of a bug. It was probably not supposed to be there. Just a mistake. But, we can buy the iron armor. Hooray. We can buy the iron shield. Hooray. And we can buy the, well, iron helm, but... Or actually... The helm was the copper helm, wasn't it? Or something like that? I don't know. They changed the names. Anyway, 2 more defense. 3 more defense. 9 more defense. And we've already got leather gloves. Okay. Sell the old stuff. And that's it. Nothing better we can buy. There's no other shops that are of any value to us. So now, basically, we want to get ready for the Marsh Cave. Which will require a lot of money. So we don't care about silence. If you ever get stoned, it's game over. Poison is annoying. And again, I don't really care about tents very much, that kind of stuff. So we've got 41 and 12. That might be enough. I'm not sure if we're going to need to do a little bit of grinding for the next dungeon. It's really not so much about your level. It's more about your luck with getting stun locked. So, 24 minutes in. You know what? We'll see if we can get Marsh Cave done in today's episode. We're making great time, and I'd like to keep it up if we can. The story so far is we've got a ship. If you go to the Elfland Castle, the Elf Prince is asleep, and he's complaining, and there's some dark, supposedly dark elf to the northwest that is pillaging the elves, or whatever. He's being a jerk, something or other. Matoya up north of Corneria is a witch who's blind, and she could probably help the elf, but she's mad because someone stole her crystal. The someone is probably the dark elf in the castle to the northwest, but he won't really talk to us until we go to the Marsh Cave and get him his fancy-dancy crown that could, I guess, theoretically prove that he's the real king of Elfland. I don't know. That never really made any sense to me. Oh, did you notice here that your poison tick, I believe it's just 5% of your max HP. So you should actually use the antidotes more often. In the original game, I think it was like just flat up like 2 or 3 per turn. But now that it's a percentage of your HP total, it definitely adds up a lot faster, especially as you get higher levels. If you have max HP, you know, 999, I'm pretty sure you would take 49 or 50 poison damage every turn, and that's a fair bit. So I'm definitely killing everything as I run to Marsh Cave, because I'm not, well, I say everything. We're gonna ignore the wolves if I can. They don't really give you very much XP or anything. I definitely feel like I could and possibly should level up a little bit. The Marsh Cave is a scary place, and we're not a very high level for solo. Well, even for a solo run, this is pretty low. I remember in the NES version, I used to get my group of 4 to level 10 to 12 before I went in here usually. So a solo at level 13 isn't much higher level than the 4 that I normally take. Now the good news is, because it's not a rando, you can basically ignore all the treasure chests in here. That was lucky. Those guys could have stun locked me. And just go straight to the crown if you know where it is. Okay, this could be a stun lock as well. I'm gonna try to kill it in 1 round. And we got paralyzed instantly. Good start. So I think the Blood Bones is probably the only enemy that will be able to do real damage. But the Crawler, the slimy type enemy, it essentially gets 8 attacks around with paralysis touch, or on-hit paralysis. And we're probably dead, so that's just the fun of solo. Alright, death number 2. Good times. That only happened because the death music was playing. If it wasn't for the death music in the background, we would never have been stun locked in our first encounter in the Marsh Cave, or second, I guess. So yeah, I mean, you could totally use the in-game save every time you escape from a battle, and I wouldn't even say anything. I'd be like, you know what, that's in the game, you're allowed to do that. It's just, it's not in the vanilla game, and I seriously ran to the end of the dungeon and got like 1 encounter. Did I even get a single encounter on the way down here? That's ridiculous. I also should have saved it before I got into this fight, but I figured I would try 1 without it. This is probably going to get us killed. 4, they were wizards, but now they're Pisco demons. 4 is probably too much for a solo warrior, especially when we're not one-shotting them. This is why you might want to level grind. You could probably do this fight a lot safer at level 20. We're almost enough to one-shot them. I think they've got like 80 HP. Don't worry. Don't give up hope. I'm pretty sure we can do this without level grinding. The level grinding will come... No, I'm going to actually try to get through the solo warrior with little to no level grinding if possible. Now this could get me right here again. I say that, and now every fight I get into down here is killing me. Unfortunately, we just can't seem to break the paralysis. Alright. Hope we're not keeping track on the death counter. But, you haven't seen the ice cave yet. Alright. It's a short dungeon. You know where to go, right? Like, there's a reason you can actually make it to the boss without a random encounter. It's not that many steps, if you know exactly where to go. So this time I'm going to save, just because it really comes down to how many wizards show up, or Pisco demons. If we get 2, we basically win automatically. If we get 5, I think 5's the max. We just lose. 2. So we basically were fine. I probably didn't need to save it. Probably. I think as long as we can kill them in 2 shots, as long as they don't suddenly get a magical critical, there's no way they could kill us with 2. So there you go. We got ourselves a crown. And with that, I will heal up. And I feel like, you know, like I said, I'm going to try not to abuse the saving. But especially when we're fighting bosses and stuff, I'll throw in a save after those, for instance. But we've got to make our way back to the surface without extra saves. I don't know. I'm going to try to find a compromise. This is a fine fight. As long as we don't have any more bad encounters, we've basically done it already without having to reload any of those dungeon saves. Gray oozes, I think, are the kind you can kill. Yeah, it's the yellowy type that they've got 1,000,000 absorb. I think these guys are actually half decent experience. Yeah. That's why we kill those. These also can't stun you, so may as well kill them. The general rule of thumb when you're playing a solo challenge is, can it stun you? If yes, run. If no, maybe try to fight it. Unless it's an unrunnable encounter, in which case, well, good luck. So, I suppose we're making such amazing progress, we might as well do one more thing before I end the episode, because it all leads together so smoothly. And I will be doing 30-minute episodes one way or the other, so it is time to end. But we have time for our... Do I want to fight the werewolves? Sure, we'll fight the werewolves. We'll get poisoned, probably. But, we'll do a little bit of super speed here. And we'll antidote ourselves. Because we take more damage from poison than from imps. Or goblin guards, as they're called here. Now, technically, anywhere around here on the overworld, we could be fighting Geists, another undead, or whatever they're called here. And they have stun lock as well, so, you know, theoretically, we could have an unwinnable or basically instant KO fight at any second. Although, once we get far enough away from the Marsh Cave, the encounter groups, I think, are safe. Come on, wolves. Alright, this is why everyone loves wolves. Can't run. And we got to level up from killing wolves. Hooray. Oh boy. Alright, let's kill these guys. It's fine. And here we are. Okay. So, I always, I know we could do this all right in front of the boss. It's just, it's kind of habit for me to use a tent and heal up before going into dungeons because of the NES rules, basically. It's just my nature. Just have a look at our stats here. Level 15... I'd say we've got a reasonable chance. What it comes down to is, well, you'll see. He's got 2 spells that'll basically make us lose. And it just depends on if he manages to cast them. Alright, so it turns out the king is actually an evil dark elf, and he just wants to take our crown and, you know, kill us, essentially. So unfortunately, we're still so early in the game, there's really no, strategy here. It's hit him until he dies, or you die. So if he does physical attacks, we're doing good. That is bad, though. Alright, we got lucky. He didn't kill us with his instant death spell. That is the other spell, and it did hit. So now, instead of 3 attacks, we get 1. And his haste is not that bad, because he doesn't do very much damage. It's our slow and his death spell that are the big problems. Then, because we're slowed, a few Firas or Fire 2s will kill us. And there's no healing through that, really. I guess I could try use a bunch of potions, but I think it's better to just hope for a critical hit or something. He's got to be getting fairly close. Dark's even worse. We're slowed and darked. And also asleep. And also insta-killed anyway. Alright, well that's the way it goes, you know? It's fine. 1 down. Let's give this a couple more tries. I don't think we're going to need to level grind, but, you know, if you're playing Solo Thief, good luck. Okay, that's fun. Classic. Okay, you know what? To save time, because, you know, we're getting close to the end of my my timer here. It's going to start buzzing at me. Alright, let's do it. Death magic. And we're dead. Okay, we're doing good. Let's try this again. Solo run. See, it doesn't matter what level you're at. This kind of stuff's going to happen either way. The difference is at a higher level, we'll kill him in fewer attacks. But his instant death hijinks, you know, there's no stopping that. All right, we're doing great. This is good. This is the crux of a good solo challenge. It reminds me of my old days playing as the solo thief. At least in the NES version, he has like a spell list. He doesn't just get to choose whatever spells he wants. He has to cast them in order. And I don't think I can't remember. Does he start with Rub in the original? I forget the order of spells. But I know he can't just keep casting the same spell over and over again. He has to go through his entire list. And basically, this death spell is just... I don't know what the odds of it are, but it works 90% of the time so far on us. Holy crap. Wow, yeah, I mean, hey, this is fun. What are you guys saying? You can't complain about solo challenges. I mean, we could just hold super speed and tap A, and certainly instant death will fail eventually. Okay, we're on. Game on. And game off. We're already basically screwed. We need not to get slowed. We need not to be killed and not to be slowed. And then we've got a chance. I don't know. I'm sure we could do it. I just don't have to level grind. I'm trying to show this off that you can do it without level grinding. Come on, win with 1 HP. That'd be awesome. Resist! No, it gets you to 1 HP and then just death magics you. Alright. I guess, you know, the truth is, this is probably a good example of level 15 being a little bit too low. It's possible your magic defense would reduce the chances of being killed by death as you level up. I'm, again, not 100% sure how the mechanics work. But, like, you can see the damage. If I'm not slowed, I'm doing, like, 50 to 70 damage on average. I'm sure we can kill him in, like, 4 or 5 rounds. If he just doesn't kill us instantly. And then slow us the next turn. Here we go. This is it. Don't slow me. Just a couple physical attacks for a couple turns. I guess he does have, like, a spell... Okay, we got him this time. No problem. He must still have a spell order like the original. Anyway, he's screwed. There's no way. Right? How much HP do you think this guy has? There, we got him. We got him. Look at that. As soon as we didn't get slowed, no problem. And a level up even. Look, it's totally possible without having to grind. In the time it took me to kill him, I probably could have gained 5 levels and killed him in one critical hit. Alright. Well, that's where we're going to end our episode today. Just to show off his stats in this game in case you're comparing it to the original. There's Astos. I'm sure 420 is more than vanilla in NES. Because the first super bot, like the first fiend, has 400, the Lich. So Astos gets a pretty huge buff. Now, if he had dropped the Mithril Sword, that would have been nice. I don't think he dropped the Mithril Sword, though. No such luck. Alright, folks, that's all for today's episode. That was a pretty good start. We went from the beginning of the game to killing Astos. Good stuff. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time as we continue our Solo Warrior Challenge on Super Speed.